Hello, YouTube. We're live. I believe we're live.
Looks like it.
A little panic moment there. I couldn't find the button to switch the scene. So, see a few people in chat. I see Bob from Bob's Adventure Vlogs and more, and Alberto, Radio Rebellion.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Indeed. Hello, hello. All right. Hopefully, I think this is going to be a little bit of a shorter show this week.
I mean, it's definitely kind of a lighter week this week, especially when it comes to news and everything. So
there's Cam Ray.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining
leftover
us.
pineapple pizza this morning, Cam. It was yummy.
That looks delicious.
See, Josh knows.
There was pineapple and ham on that.
Yeah, a little bit of bacon.
Nice. Was that like a Domino's?
Little Caesars, actually.
Little Caesars.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always associate pineapple pizza with like Domino's for some reason.
I don't know.
Y'all sick.
What's up, RFB? Oh, you listening to Shadowfall, or did you reading it and putting the book down for a bit? All right, I'm gonna start pre-rolling here. Close that window. All right, audiobook. Nice.
Audiobook, yeah. Well, we appreciate you pausing that to join us for sure.
Yep. I was just gonna ask who narrated it. I finished chapter 1. I had it since Tuesday.
I finished chapter 1 of Light of the Jedi today.
I see what you did there. Yeah, Cam blew through that book. Shadowfall.
Mm-hmm. I still got to read the first one. I've been reading that Hunger Games prequel with Brittany wanted me to read it because she's reading it, so we can have something to talk about, you know.
Okay. I have to.
It's pretty good.
I have to get into that too.
Alphabet Squadron is definitely going to be next up for me, though.
Yeah. Hey, Dave and Liv, what's up?
Hey guys.
Red 5 family in the house. I don't think I've heard Carol narrate before.
Yeah, Cam, we can definitely talk about that at some point. Have you read it, or are you reading it?
I'll wave back to Liv. Hi, Liv.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to chat about that. It's pretty interesting stuff. There's a lot of surprises in that book too. A lot of things that just kind of blew my mind. Like, whoa, can't believe they just did that. This is a Star Wars podcast.
So that's okay. How far before Hunger Games does that take place?
It actually takes place around like the 10th Hunger Games, I think. And
okay.
you know, President Snow is like an 18-year-old.
Gotcha. All right.
And it's just like, it kind of is the start of the Hunger Games that we know. You know, the Hunger Games that we come to know in the in the movies and everything in the books. It kind of establishes how the Hunger Games kind of operate.
Right.
And everything.
Okay. I might have to check it out. I love the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take a little Star Wars break after I wrap some stuff up here.
Yeah, definitely.
So. All right. You ready to hit the intro?
Let's do it.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Hello there, everybody out in the galaxy. This is the From a Certain Point of View podcast, episode 35. I'm Josh.
I'm Adam.
Well, Adam, I have to say I'm glad to be back after that week
Yeah.
off.
How was the beach?
It was nice. It was
Scariff looking
it was
nice
a lot
these
of
days.
yeah. We went to Scariff Beach. It
Nice,
was
nice.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of a security problem there, but we got past that.
That stinks.
But no, seriously, Virginia Beach was a lot of fun. And the weather was good. It wasn't too hot, but it was in the mid 70s and everything. And
That's cool.
it was just
Good.
cool getting away for a little bit. But I
Yeah,
did
for
miss you guys, and I got to listen to you and your brother do a fine job with the
Yeah, we held
podcast
down the
last
fort.
week. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, there were some things I was like, man, I kind of wish I was on this episode to talk about a few of
Yeah.
these things.
I felt bad.
yeah.
I knew you'd love to talk about Marvel, but we got to actually catch up with some Marvel talk with Force of Light this past week, which was pretty fun.
We did. We got to
episode
talk
came out.
Infinity War and Endgame. That was
Yeah.
a great discussion.
Yeah, we had a lot of
So
fun
I got my
hanging out with
Marvel fix there.
Natalie and Michelle. So thanks to them for inviting us on. That was a really fun episode. We don't only like Star Wars here, so.
Right? We like lots of other things as well. So
yeah, Marvel's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. Not bad.
They do some all right stuff over there.
Yeah. So what have you been up to in Star Wars this week?
I started Shadowfall this week and did not get very far. But yeah, that's really the only thing of media that I've been consuming this week is Shadowfall. But then I got to hang out with Bob from Bob's Adventure Blogs and More, and I believe he's in chat with us today, and we talked about pretty much a lot of stuff. Mandalorian, future Star Wars, all kinds of fun stuff there. And I believe he said that episode is coming out this Thursday. He gave me a date. I think he actually said the 9th, so I'll have to double check on that.
Okay.
But that's coming out soon.
Yeah, I have to check that out. Looking forward to it.
And this Thursday at 9 p.m., actually. That's where I got the 9 from. So this Thursday at 9 p.m., which is July 2nd. So
good deal.
So about you, what have you been up to after vacation?
It's also been pretty. Yeah, it was pretty light in Star Wars as well for me. I mean, it was heavy in Marvel because I watched Infinity War and Endgame, getting ready for that discussion that we had with Force of Light. But I did early this week watch the final episode of the Disney Gallery Mandalorian. With all those connections and everything. I really enjoyed that. It was one of the lengthiest episodes, and it was also one of the more enjoyable, fun ones.
It was just
I know
fun.
you guys talked about it last week, but yeah,
that's kind of how I qualified it. It was just for me, it was the most fun episode of that series.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and just because when I was watching The Mandalorian for the first, second, and third time, I was seeing all these connections and noticing all these things, and it was just kind of fun to see all the ones that I did notice or the ones that I maybe didn't notice and everything. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, that's about it for Star Wars for me this week, aside from reading chapter 1 of Light of the Jedi today, which was a real treat in preparation for this episode in our news segment here. So yeah,
absolutely. We have a poll to chat about, right?
Yes. So we had a poll question, which again, I always like to relate those poll questions back to something we've maybe talked about on the previous episode. And so our question was about an extended unit, or kind of like a connected universe. You guys had spoken about, is Star Wars gonna have an MCU type universe at some point? And so the question was, what are your thoughts on the recent rumor that Dave Filoni will be leading a connected universe of Star Wars shows on Disney Plus? The options were everything should connect, only some shows should connect, it's a bad idea, or other. And so 65% of our voters said everything should connect, and that was the winning vote. 27% had only some shows should connect. 3% think it's a bad idea, and 5%, had an other comment about it. And we had 77 votes. So, what were your thoughts on this poll, Adam?
Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns with only some shows should connect. we had a couple interesting responses on Twitter about that, about how things kind of already connect, and I can see that.
Yeah.
Characters crossing over, Rebels and Clone Wars. There's a lot of that going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I see this type of connection as like an even deeper connection, where characters
Yeah, like
are
more
coming in and out.
intentional.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where it's not so much cameos. It's like characters are having major roles in other films or TV shows. So yeah, I'm gonna stay with only some should connect and branch out and
Yeah.
tell some new stories in other shows. So
I'm with you for sure, Adam, on that. I think only some of them should connect. I think when it makes sense, they should connect. Like I was thinking about Dave Filoni. What series would he be involved with? If the rumored Ahsoka live action series is going to happen, then I could see him obviously connecting that with the Mandalorian. Or if there was a Boba Fett series, maybe that connects with the Mandalorian as well, and with or I could see those types of shows connecting. I don't necessarily think the Obi-Wan show has to directly connect to the Mandalorian, for example, or the Cassian series doesn't have to directly connect to the Mandalorian. So
right.
I think only the ones that like fit inside Dave Filoni's universe of Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, I think, and those types of characters could all connect and be a larger thing. So that's my opinion on that. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So you have an exciting announcement for us as well, right?
Yeah. It's kind of an us thing. It's not just me, but we are going to be launching our very first merchandise store. So if you're looking for some, from a certain point of view, t-shirts or hoodies, we got a couple stickers. I got an email this week about a fanny pack, and I might have to make a fanny pack. We'll see how that goes.
I could use one of those for my trip to Disney in September,
There you go. But yeah, we're going to be launching our very own merch store. The let me see if I can share this quickly and easily.
I really like the one hoodie that I saw on there. That looked really nice. I'm interested in that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And this is going to be a pain, isn't it? Okay, let's do this. And then let's do this. And I'll be editing all this out. Did that work? Kind of. Yeah, okay. That will be okay. Alright, anyway.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Let's turn our names off there so other people can see it. Alright. So yeah, our merch store, and I'll put the link in chat, and then it'll definitely be in the show notes. But you can also get to this from... We're going to see chat. This is going to be a little bit of a meta moment. But you can also get to this from our website right here. If you go from a certain point of view.com, we have a shop link now, so it'll take you right to the Teespring store. And the Teespring store has a couple different classic tees, which are available in a bunch of different colors. We have a coffee mug, a couple stickers, a classic crew neck sweatshirt, and a premium pullover hoodie. So you can all check those out. But the other part, this is a two-part announcement here. The other part of the announcement is that we are going to be giving away one of these things for 500 Twitter followers. We're getting really close to that. So after the show today, the live show today, I'm going to be tweeting out a special tweet. And for one lucky winner, whoever retweets that, likes that, and make sure that they're following us, will be entered to win your pick from our merch store, and we'll pick that once
on
we
us,
hit 500.
yeah.
Yep, on us, totally free. So losing everything. Hey, we're back.
All right. We're back.
So
that was cool how you were able to share a look at that.
It was a little rough, but I tried.
Looks awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, merch store is live right now. and we'll be giving away one of those to our after we reach 500 Twitter followers. And yeah, exciting stuff.
And yes, may the odds be ever in your favor, as we were
We
talking a
were
little Hunger
yeah.
Games before the show started today.
Yeah, if you're not watching live, you miss some of that pre-roll chatter. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's exciting. What do we got coming up on this week's show, Adam?
We got a tiny little bit of news. I think there's like two things to talk about. Not much going on.
Couple news pieces. Yeah.
I think we're going to spend a good chunk of our time this week talking about a book we got to review this past week, which was the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Traveler's Guide to Batuu, which was kind of like a travel companion book that came out digitally this past Tuesday. So we got to review that earlier this week, and we're going to go through that, see what that's all about, see how we liked it. And then our last segment today is going to be, we're going to chat about our favorite Star Wars lightsaber duels. So,
all right, let's hit the news.
Let's jump into news.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Okay, so first up, the Star Wars show released their monthly episode this past Wednesday, I believe it was, and it was all about behind the scenes. It was called Behind the Scenes Spectacular. So we got a behind the scenes look at Jedi Temple Challenge. We had a behind the scenes look at animals dressed as different characters in ships in Star Wars. There's always something a little bit weird on the Star Wars show. You know, if you're a follower of the Star Wars show, it gets a little weird sometimes, which, Star Wars can be weird and have fun and everything. So there's always that element of that on the Star Wars show. They also did an interview with E.K. Johnston and costume designer Trisha Bigger about Padme costumes. And I thought it was pretty interesting to see just, when you're watching The Phantom Menace, for example, or Attack of the Clones, you might not right away notice all the different costumes that Padme is in. So it was kind of cool seeing all those different costumes and the thought that went into them. And I think one of the costumes actually had to be battery powered by a car battery or something like that, something crazy like that. And then E.K. Johnston kind of talked about, as she was writing her Padme novels, how she incorporated costume ideas into the novels and everything. I haven't read those yet. I don't know if you have, Adam,
No,
or
I haven't.
if you had any thoughts on the costume design and everything of Padme.
I mean, I read I read the Queen's Shadow, which was the first one, right? And
I think so.
I haven't checked out Queen Sparrow yet. So.
Queen Sparrow, yeah. So it's pretty interesting stuff. I always like to give a little love to the Star Wars show. It used to be a weekly show that they've now kind of turned into a monthly show that's a little bit longer now. It used to be like
right.
10 minutes long. Now it's like 20 minutes long, but you only get one a month. So I love Andy and Anthony on the show. I think they're great stewards of Star Wars, and they bring a lot of fun and personality to that show. And, you often see them during Star Wars Celebration doing interviews as well and stuff like that. So I always like to give a little shout out to the Star Wars show.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't checked that out, give it a look. Also, our second and actually final piece of news for this week is that we got to read the first chapter of Star Wars High Republic novel Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule. Adam, have you read the first chapter?
I did read it. I was very torn about wanting to read this.
I was torn too, because it's going to be a bit of a wait before we get to read the whole.
Yeah.
What is it? When's that happen? In
January now.
January.
It was August and got pushed back to January. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you think? What did you think of the first chapter?
I'm intrigued. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I was definitely very intrigued. I was like almost instantly pulled into this novel with that first chapter. I think it was so well written. Immediately the stakes are very high with what happens. I mean, I don't want to give too many spoilers away or anything if you haven't read it, but because I even thought about waiting, but I'm glad I did read it, because it's a must buy for me at this point and a must read for sure.
It doesn't give too
And
much
it just
away if you're worried about that type of stuff, saving that for release day.
right.
So it really doesn't give a whole lot away, but it does pull you in pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean the one thing for me was, the character that we're introduced to, the kind of like the captain of the ship basically. Um
Hmm.
I instantly like gravitated towards her character and cared about that character and
Yeah,
everything, and then something happens towards the end and
yeah.
there's already those high stakes. So I thought that was, very intriguing, and I'm interested to see where the story is going to go from here, how it's going to affect the galaxy, the Jedi, how they're going to get involved with this kind of quote unquote great disaster that happens. This is the catalyst of that event. So, um,
Yep.
any more thoughts on the first chapter of Light of the Jedi, Adam?
January can't come soon enough.
It can't. Yeah, I can't wait. It was one of those things where I knew instantly, okay, I'm gonna love this book. So,
Yeah.
yeah, excited for the release of that one.
Yep.
And I actually that wraps it up for our very short news segment, unless there was anything else.
No, I was just gonna segue saying, and speaking of books, let's jump into Galaxy.
Speaking of books, let's jump into the Traveler's
let's do it.
Guide to Batuu.
My disappointment in your performance cannot be overstated.
So this was an exciting review for us, and not to toot our own horns here a little bit, but we got to review this. We got to check out this book and review it, and we actually got to read it before it came out to the public, which was really fun. First time I've ever gotten to do that, so I'm still a little starstruck about that. But yeah, this is this was a B&M and Becker and Mayer book. This is the full title is Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge: Traveler's Guide to Batuu. Like I said at the front of the show, this is it's a companion guide. If you think about like those like Frommer's books or those types of books, it's kind of like that. But there's some pretty cool different things that they do with this particular book that make it a little more exciting to read as a Star Wars fan. So first of all, this book dropped digitally on June 23rd, which was this past Tuesday. And then there is going to be a hardcover edition coming July 21st. So you can get this on, like Kindle and, wherever you happen to buy ebooks. You can get that now, or you can wait for the nice hardcover edition coming July 21st. Right off the bat, I'll let you know this. The price on this is $19.99 suggested retail price, but I've been seeing it for a good bit less than that. Other places, Amazon had the hardcover for like $14, and I think the Kindle edition was like 13.5. So I think that's a pretty good value for what you get here. There's some really nice art in this book, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but I think the quality of this book is very good, especially if you're getting it for that like $14 price. This guide was written by Cole Horton, and the one cool thing that I really loved about this was it's written in universe from the perspective of a new character named Elok Thorno, and basically Elok is a galactic adventurer, and he's just kind of recounting his past trips to Batuu, what he likes about it. He's giving some recommendations about food and drinks, and you get some of the pictures of what you can eat and drink in Galaxy's Edge. So it's a pretty cool approach to a traveler's guide, I think. And I mean, maybe something like that's been done before, but if it has, I'm not aware of it, So I liked seeing that was told in universe from a character's perspective. I think that added some story elements to it. The other thing that I found fascinating about this book actually is that if you're familiar with Disney parks and kind of the history behind them and some of the story elements, so many things that they do in the parks have story behind them. Even down to at Disney World, the downtown Disney area got rethemed uh, to be called a Disney Springs now. Um, but they've actually gone through and created some backstory for all this stuff. So how Disney Springs came to be, is this um, the place reached by settlers long ago and turned into this marketing district, basically. Some of the restaurants there have stories about how they ended up there, and that type of stuff. But you don't always get that type of openness about what those stories are. A lot of that stuff is meant to be kind of found out for yourself. This is one of those books that I think it's a little bit rare, because this kind of gives you just a total glimpse into what the story of Galaxy's Edge is, which I found pretty fascinating. And then not only that, but it ties in so many different elements of other stories that I've read. So that the Black Spire book by Delilah S. Dawson that features Vibe Maradi, basically setting up a resistance base on Batuu in Black Spire Outpost. There's a lot of fun little references to that, so it ties in some of those stories. I found it fun to read, just to find those little Easter eggs, not even being at Galaxy's Edge. I'm 1,000 miles away from Galaxy's Edge, but it was still fun to read and fun to see all these story elements that they've intentionally included in this area, in this land, to tie it into other parts of Star Wars. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely a unique approach to doing that. And at first I was trying to actually read this thing on my phone, and then I found it just wasn't adequate. So
yeah,
I switched to the iPad,
it's a
and
little
it was
better that way.
much better that
Yeah.
way. And you're right. There's a lot of great artwork in here. There's a lot of nice little Easter eggs about what to look for when you go, because I've been saying, we've been planning this trip to go in September.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been worried that maybe I won't get to go with all the COVID-19 stuff happening, but I'm still hoping to get to visit Batuu at Galaxy's Edge. And I didn't get through the whole thing yet, but it was really interesting. And one thing you mentioned, Adam, was about how they decide to put story behind everything. And they could have, Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars land could have been something different. They could have done Tatooine and
right.
had a cantina and still had the Falcon there and stuff, but it could have been visiting something we already knew in Star Wars, which would have been cool. I think it would have been great. But they decided to create a new planet with a whole storyline with different characters, and um so how do you feel overall about that decision?
Yeah, so for that, I think that allowed for a lot more storytelling like this. Yeah,
For
we
sure.
we could easily have a story on Tatooine, but I think that this allowed for more world building. Where we've created a new planet, we can create new people that live on that planet, new people that travel through that planet all the time, and I think it opened up the ability to do this type of thing rather than having to do something in Mos Eisley or whatever, that type of thing. So
Right. Yeah, and I feel like this traveler's guide is a great companion, especially if you were planning, if you haven't, maybe if you've already visited, it would be great too. But if you haven't gone yet, I think reading this before you go might give you a little inside information, and you'll be a little more prepared, I think, when you go visit Galaxy's
yeah,
Edge,
absolutely,
and
yeah.
having all that knowledge, and you might have a different lens to look through,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
visit yourself. So
That was one of the things I thought about after reading Black Spire, the book by Delilah S. Dawson, was that it gave me things that I wanted to look for when I got into Galaxy's Edge, just to see how much of that stuff they tied in. This book kind of confirmed that a lot of that stuff is there, and that you can look for that stuff,
Right.
So yeah, I thought that this book would be a lot of fun for someone to take, especially on like a first trip to Galaxy's Edge. I don't know that it's like a necessary thing for you to take maybe after that, but I think to take along with you on that first trip, just to find things to search out, to look for, and Disney has all these details that if you're just kind of looking at attractions and keeping your head down and looking at a map, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. This book kind of tells you right up front some of the things you can look for if you do look around, especially going into the shops. And, each of these shops have like proprietors and owners, and this book kind of gives you a little bit of background on all these characters, so that you kind of know them before you go. Some of the things that you can look for in their shops. Like one of them is a Toydarian, and you can look for their nest where they sleep, because that shop is their home.
Right.
So this book gives you all those little inside details that, honestly, probably your average park goer doesn't know about, and this kind of gives you the heads up.
Yeah,
to look for.
I
that
think
stuff.
you can definitely get a greater appreciation out of the park if you read this before you go. So I'm looking forward to finishing this and then having that knowledge for when we go in. So
yeah. Absolutely. So like I mentioned before, some of the art in this book is great. The photography is wonderful. I don't know that you'll ever get to see pictures of Galaxy's Edge so empty ever again. Especially after especially after parks open up again. But this is kind of like Galaxy's Edge as it was like before anybody stepped into it. These are pictures of just the decorations, and purely unadulterated by any guest that has walked in there since. It's Galaxy's Edge in a state that I don't know that you'll ever get to see it again. So it's pretty cool to have some of that art floating around. The other thing that I loved about the art, and this is right up front in the book, but there's a galaxies map in this thing, and I don't know if this particular map has been anywhere else before, but I haven't seen it, and I loved it. Like, one of the things that I always loved about EU books was that, right up front there was always a timeline, there was always a galaxy map, and there was always a list of characters in the book. This kind of brought me back to that type of thing, where this galaxy map is right up front, first section, full color, pretty detailed. I thought it was really cool to see an official map like that floating around there. Did you get to, and then before I hand it back over to you about the art, I love the art in between each section, like each so there's nine different sections in this book, and then each section has its own little piece of, like, I don't know if it's hand drawn, but it looks hand drawn art. So I did very much love that, but I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I just I love the look of it and everything, and the way that they have laid everything out in this traveler's guide, and I think it's just beautiful to look at. And again, I'm excited to finish this and get ready to go in person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you're watching live, I put a little shot of the galaxy map up there, and Michael from 2med2 is in chat, and he says that it's just for this book, which is cool. It has been out. It is just for this book. That's why Batuu is huge. Gotcha. So, and I took it off. There we go. Now we're back. So yeah, I thought that map was pretty cool. Like I said, color coded. It divides everything up into sections. Core, colonies, inner rim, expansion, mid rim, outer rim, and then hut space. So
it's always nice to have that layout and that context for where everything is in the galaxy. And looking at all the different kind of the outer rim and the core and all those different things. So
yeah, and this is what Michael was meaning by Batuu is huge. They have it like actually in larger, much larger font, and the dot is much larger, so you can. It's their equivalent of you are here. So. So yeah. But yeah,
and I also saw in the chat here, Adam, that Megan was requesting that she sent us a link if she could get a reaction out of us to the link that she sent. So if you want to put a little pin in that for some point in our show, if we can
get
to that.
Absolutely. Let's see here. There was also what I found particularly kind of fun was the quick guide, a quick reference guide at the end of the book. That's the last section. It gives you a guide to Arabesh and speaking it and reading it, which is kind of cool because a lot of the text that you see in Galaxy's Edge is in Arabesh. So it gives you kind of how to read this section there. But then there's also a guide to the holidays that are celebrated in Galaxy's Edge, which is there's
Is Life Day
basically
on there?
one Life Day is on there, and that's their Christmas celebration. There's also
Good.
I'm gonna have to think about this. There's also a Harvest Day, which goes around Thanksgiving. And if you think it centers around kind of the main holidays that Disney decorates for anyway, so there's going to be Halloween decorations and Christmas decorations. So you're going to see decorations around Galaxy's Edge around those times also. So Life Day, Harvest Day would be fall, and then I think that Black Spire Day is May 4th. So those those 3 days with the inclusion of May 4th are going to be decked out in Galaxy's Edge. And there's also a guide to some games, and there's actually instructions for Sabacc, which is kind of neat. So
nice.
Some pretty cool stuff.
I always wanted to know how exactly to play Sabacc,
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So
I just love all the detail that they've packed into this place,
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
So yeah, like you said, it made me more excited to go, and it actually was pretty cool to read. Even for me, I don't have current plans to visit Galaxy's Edge except for as soon as I possibly can.
Right.
But it was fun just to read through this book, just to see everything that they've packed into this, to see all these little story elements, and see all these little Easter eggs that I already know about because I've been reading some of this stuff. And I really enjoyed this Traveler's Guide.
So I take it that you are recommending the
I do
Traveler's
recommend
Guide
the
to Batuu.
Traveler's Guide to Batuu. I think it's I actually really thought it was a lot of fun.
Very good. Thank you for sharing your review, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Did you like it? Do you want to recommend it?
I like it so far. Like I said, I
Okay.
haven't finished it yet.
Gotcha.
But I what I've looked at and read so far, I've really enjoyed. So
Cool.
I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Awesome. All right, you ready to
All right.
jump into lightsaber?
We're going to talk
chat?
about our favorite lightsaber duels.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
Okay, so of course, when you think of Star Wars, you think of Jedi, you think of lightsabers, you think of lightsaber duels, and there are many, many lightsaber duels in Star Wars. And Adam, I was asking you, do you want to talk about? We've had this idea for this segment for a long time now, and we just got around to it finally. Talking about our favorite lightsaber duels, and you kind of threw out the idea. Why don't we pick our favorite lightsaber duel from each trilogy, the prequel trilogy, original trilogy, and sequel trilogy? And I thought that was a really good idea. So why don't we start with the prequel trilogy?
Sounds like a good
What
place
is your
to start.
Yeah, we'll go chronological order for this. What is your favorite lightsaber duel from the prequel trilogy?
So there's, for me, it's Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. There's so much emotional weight to that one. Even with the weird little lightsaber twirl that they do in the inside of the control.
It's a little
room
extra,
there.
but
a little extra, but it's cool. I always think it's cool. It's definitely extra. It's not needed. But then the like I said, the emotional weight to that and how that ends, and certainly Ewan McGregor's performance through all that dialogue. It's my favorite, and I love Battle of the Heroes, which is it's actually one of my favorite tracks, and I actually sometimes like it even better than Duel of the Fates, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Awesome choice. I think it's tough for me to pick because I love Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I think some of it is a slight bit over the top, which, you know, like
Mhm.
jumping over the lava waterfall and all that stuff, where it gets a little crazy. But I do love the emotional weight of that fight, and you know, it's something that when you saw A New Hope, or when I saw A New Hope for the first time, I wondered what that first fight between them looked like, you know, and you heard those rumors about the lava and how Vader became, or you know, how Anakin became Vader and everything. So I always wondered what that duel would look like, and I think, you know, George Lucas did a great job of delivering on that one. But I'd say if I had to pick one, my favorite would be Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in The Phantom Menace. I love Duel
Yeah.
of the Fates. I think it's one of the best pieces of music in Star Wars. I just love that duel, and it also carries its own emotional weight with Qui-Gon losing his master and everything. And I just think it's one of the best parts of that movie for me. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I will say one that I don't like from the prequel trilogy is Anakin versus Dooku, and Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Dooku.
Just the Anakin
Because
Obi-Wan part, because I gotta be honest, when
me,
Yoda walks in, it's
the Yoda part, I'm down with that. I
okay.
love
All right.
seeing
All right.
Yoda in action. But I felt like it was more, and we'll get to this later, like what makes a great lightsaber duel. But um, I felt it was more like a dance especially with Anakin versus Dooku. You could tell it was kind of choreographed, and it was more of a dance. It didn't feel as much like a fight to me. You know what I mean? It didn't have
Okay.
that kind of. I don't know. I'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, that's what I would go with for the prequel trilogy.
Cool. In
So,
live chat here, Cam mentioned yours as well, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon, and he said
mhm.
that he thinks that the CGI is what puts Anakin and Obi-Wan second for him. And
Yeah.
then Charles Westcott says Qui-Gon and Maul in the desert, which that's a cool pick. It was a taste of what was to come.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that one.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
that choice. Awesome. So, are you ready to move to the original trilogy?
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, sir. What
I
is your favorite lightsaber duel in the OT?
Yeah. It's uh Luke versus Vader at the end. It's always been one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars as a whole, throughout everything, is that
Mm-hmm.
Luke and Vader battle at the end, and especially um, after Vader learns about Leia, about his twin sister, and
Yeah.
threatens to turn her to the dark side, and then you see Luke's rage, and then you hit that music, with the I don't want to say choir, it's kind of like a chant almost. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but man, that always gives me chills, and every time I'm watching Star Wars, that's like one of the main scenes I have to stop what I'm doing just so I can see that and relive it every time. So
Yeah.
that part of the Luke Vader battle, specifically when that music kicks in, that's my favorite part, favorite lightsaber battle.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's something very special about that scene. When I think about Star Wars, you know, that's one of the scenes that really pops into my mind. That
Mm-hmm.
confrontation in the throne room, um, and I love that. I also do of course love Empire Strikes Back, and I love, you know, their first confrontation. So I think I might have to give a slight edge to the one in Empire, just because Luke's he's still kind of learning. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he I think he's surprised by Vader, but Vader's also surprised by him and what he's able to do. And
He
Luke has a couple
finds him
tricks
somewhat
up, you know.
impressive.
Yeah, most impressive.
Yeah.
But he's not a Jedi yet, you know. But this is Luke kind of just like diving right into the battle that maybe he shouldn't have dove into, but it was all about going to save his friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, and he was going to do it anyway. But I love the consequence of that fight and him losing his hand and the gravity of that situation, and um, you know, Vader asking him to join him and everything. So I got to go with Luke versus Vader in Empire.
Cool.
Okay.
Megan's
So
with
that
you.
brings us.
Yeah,
Oh
Megan in
yes,
chat is with
yes.
you. She says classic Luke versus Vader and Empire Strikes Back. Charles Westcott, this is my favorite answer. Yoda versus R2 for the lamp.
Yes, that was a
And
great duel.
And
Loved it.
Alberto from Radio Rebellion says Luke and Vader in ROTJ is probably the best, but he loves their battle in ESB and how Vader toys with him. And Cam says Luke and Vader also.
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff. So now we come to the sequel trilogy. And Adam, what is your favorite duel in the sequel trilogy?
Yeah, my favorite duel in the sequel trilogy is Finn, Rey, and Kylo Ren in the snow in Episode 7. I just loved how that looked. I'll say this until the day I die, but I'll never forget that feeling of Episode 7 in the theater and seeing that battle play out, and
Yep.
Finn getting taken down, and then Rey summoning that lightsaber, flying right past Kylo into her hands, seeing her power and her raw ability. That was. I don't know that I got that feeling again the rest of that trilogy, so I think it has to be that. And then just the scenery and that through the snow.
Oh,
and the dark.
Snow in that forest and
yeah,
everything.
Yeah, and in the dark and how the lightsabers are just glowing. Oh man, loved it.
Yeah, it was kind of unlike any other lightsaber duel we've seen in Star Wars, and I'm 100% with you on this one, Adam. I got to give it to The Force Awakens.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that.
Rey
Wow.
and Finn. Yep. This is actually one of my favorite lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars, because after my feeling on, especially like the Attack of the Clones duel, where I felt like it was more of a dance and it didn't feel as real or threatening. The duel in The Force Awakens feels like a fight. It feels like these guys are really going at it. There's some real intensity to this fight. It feels dangerous, and that's what I love about it. Like, it feels like somebody could actually get really messed up, and Finn does.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets his back
You know what?
sliced with the lightsaber. It just feels gritty and dangerous. I
Yeah,
love
it does. And I think there was Force Awakens felt a little bit different. Like the lightsabers to me felt a little bit different, and almost like they felt like they had substance after they hit something. It didn't just slice through an arm.
Yep.
Like it felt like it had. It felt like, how do I want to say it? It almost gave like feedback. Almost like it felt like it hit.
Yep. Yeah, so I love that. What did you think I was going to go with? Because you were pretty surprised with my answer.
I thought you were going to go with Throne Room from Last Jedi.
I can't consider that a lightsaber duel. That's why I didn't go with that one.
Okay.
Even though that's one of my favorite scenes in the sequel trilogy, the Throne Room scene in The Last Jedi, I can't actually say it's a lightsaber duel.
Okay, I see what you mean.
That's why.
All right.
Yeah.
Understand. So, going to chat, Michael from 2med2 says Throne Room hands down, and he says no hands were lost in the making of that scene. Cam Ray is going with us on Force Awakens in the snow. He says the music, the lighting, acting, etc., which I agree. Alberto says TFA has the best duel in the sequel trilogy, and then Charles Westcott also says Throne Room scene.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and I'll count it. I mean, I'll give it credit, but that's why I didn't pick that one, just because I didn't feel like I considered it your typical lightsaber duel. But
I can understand that.
That's one of the best scenes in the sequel trilogy, hands down. So I guess the question I have for you is, what makes a lightsaber duel great? Or why did you choose the ones you did? What makes it great?
For me, I mean, you've mentioned a little bit about like the weight of the battle, the emotion of the battle. I think that's what makes it more memorable for me too. So when I look back at the ones that I chose, they were all very emotionally heightened scenes. Anakin's fall, and then Obi-Wan confronting him, and then Luke angry about Vader's threat to Leia, basically, and then you go to Force Awakens and you have, like you said, it's very raw. It feels like someone can get hurt. There's Rey is finally standing up for what she can become. She had run away from her possibility to be connected to the Force in Maz's castle, and then she stands up and she summons that lightsaber. She brings it to her. That it kind of becomes who she is at that moment. So yeah, I think for me, what makes it really great is the emotional impact that it has.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I mean, I think there has to be, and Radio Rebellion saying here the emotional implications behind it, and that it adds to the story. I think any great action scene furthers the story. It's not, or the characters. It's not just action for the sake of action, because I think you can feel those kind of scenes feel a little empty. When there's not that story propelling it. So.
Right.
I think that's what it's all about, and I think it does have to feel a little more on the real side, and not feel so choreographed and planned out. But I know it's all choreographed, but choreographed in a way that makes it feel kind of real, and like a fight. So I think that's for me why I love that duel in the Force Awakens so much, and the Luke versus Vader fights and everything. So now, do you have an overall favorite lightsaber duel, or is that for me? I know it's
For
really hard
me,
for me to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it has to be the Luke Vader scene that I mentioned in 6. Just because, like I said, that's probably my favorite scene in Star Wars ever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for me,
I
don't even know if I could pick a favorite. It's. I mean, I think if I had to, I'd go with Luke versus Vader and The Empire Strikes Back. But, the Force Awakens duel and the Phantom Menace are both pretty close. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
And thank you guys in the chat for giving us your feedback and your opinions about your favorite lightsaber duels as well.
Absolutely. All right. You ready to wrap up episode 35?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm just glad you're here. At the end.
All right. Thank you again for tuning in to From a Certain Point of View. If you were in the live chat, thanks for hanging out. We're going to give some shout outs to those that were hanging out with us today. We had Bob from Bob's Adventures, Vlogs, and More. We had Alberto from Radio Rebellion, Rural Farm Boy, Cam Ray, Dave and Liv from Pizza and Parsecs, Charles Westcott. We had Megan Rickards. Brittany Roush showed up. You know her.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And
we're related.
Michael from 2Med2, and I do believe that was all for today. If I missed you in the shout out here, I sincerely apologize, but I thank everyone for showing up and for hanging out with us. If you are watching live or just listening later, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We are on pretty much all major podcatchers, including iTunes. And if you are on a program, an app like iTunes that lets you leave a review, make sure you drop us a review. We'd really appreciate it. It helps more people find out about what we're doing here, and helps more people join in as well. Remember to check out the website from a certain point of view.com. Like I mentioned earlier, we now have that new shop link right at the top. That will take you to our Teespring store, where you can check out all the shirts and hoodies and stickers and coffee mugs that we have now. So check that out. We also had some blog articles drop this week. So, and there's also links there to everything else we do, including our socials, like Twitter, which is Certain POV Pod. Facebook page is From a Certain Point of View. Discord server link is in the show notes and on the website as well. Our email address is certainpovpod@gmail.com. And we are hosted by Anchor.fm, where if you would like to, you can send us a 60-second voicemail, ask us a question, maybe comment on your favorite lightsaber duel and why, or just ask any question, make any comment about any show, past or present. We'd love to hear it and play it on the show as well. And remember that we are part of the Red 5 Network. You can check out red5network.com for all the other great shows and podcasts that are part of that network. A great group of positive-minded people that are open to discussion and not going to jump down your throat for, for what you think. So that's what we're all about here. That's what Red 5 Network is all about as well. Josh, what can people find you doing on the internet other than our Star Wars stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Jedi Jar Jar 1722 and writing articles for Star Wars Newsnet. And I wanted to echo a little bit of what Adam said. You know, we are always looking to hear from you guys, and your feedback is very important to us. So I'm sure we'll be putting a poll out this week about favorite lightsaber duels as well. So that's probably another way to get your voice heard. And we thank you so much for joining us today in the chat, whether you were listening now or listening later. Everything we said today was true.
From a certain point of view. All right, cool. Megan, I did check out your tweet, and that was... It's a YouTube video, so I couldn't play it. When
okay.
Yeah, so I couldn't play it when we were live there. But let me see if I can bring it up right now. Getting my exercise out of this screen sharing thing today.
I'm watching it on. That's cool that it has a screen sharing feature.
Yeah.
I'm checking out this video right now on my phone, actually.
Let's play that. Let's see if I can. I don't know if that's
away from Walt Disney World.
Oh, this is a 20-minute video, so we'll skim through it. But
I
this is
get the
apparently
opportunity
this
to
is
take you
a
guys inside the home.
hopefully I don't
that's
have my audio all
completely
jacked up now.
Decorated and themed Star Wars. I'm so excited. I seen pictures of
Seems
this
pretty
online
good.
and I was
Let's turn it down
baffled
a
on
little
how
bit.
amazing it looks. Not only is it
All right,
located
so
15 minutes from Disney World, but it's available to rent.
This is about an Airbnb close to Disney World that's decked out in Star Wars
This is amazing
stuff.
It's awesome.
All the Star Wars posters, The Empire Strikes Back. This is just a living room area.
That lamp is
Wait
wild.
till you guys see the bedrooms. I have only seen
Okay.
the common excited for, and I think we're gonna start with the master one right here on the side.
Okay, we gotta check out some bedroom stuff.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Wait a second.
I want to stay at this
Look,
place.
you got little switches. What? That is amazing. And the way the walls are themed, it's like you are in the galaxy and just
Man, that's
flying and sleeping in the Millennium Falcon. Look, right over
it's
here.
insane.
The Death Star.
Yeah, it is.
That is awesome. Wow. This is something else. Even have a little step stool to get up in the bed. Huh. The bed itself.
Oh, is this another bedroom? Oh boy.
There, it's just like I don't know which door I should go in. This.
Oh, that's a
This is
hallway. Oh my
unbelievable.
gosh.
I can't get over it. And these are bedrooms right here. One bedroom here, another bedroom there. It's just like I don't know which door I should go in first. And then you have two more bedrooms over here.
That's
I think we should
insane.
Go into this one.
I'll
Yeah.
have to watch this whole video later.
Yeah, this place is awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Megan.
That's the bedroom I saw before.
What? They're pod racers.
Oh, it is a pod racer. It's the engine. It's the turbines from the pod racer.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a
What?
speeder at first, but it's not.
Uh-huh.
So detailed. This is amazing. I can't get over this. Where do you even get stuff to make this? Unbelievable. Wow. This is so cool. And it sleeps two people. They're two different pods. I like it a lot. This one is pretty nifty. And I see they have a door, so that means they must have their own bathroom as well. But just take a look at that.
That's pretty sweet.
That is amazing.
Thanks for sending
Yeah.
that, Megan. I'm gonna have to check
Yeah,
that
that's
out the whole
awesome.
way later.
For sure.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out later, Megan. Thanks for sending that to us.
Yes,
That's pretty
thanks.
cool. All right, I'm gonna call this a live stream for today.
Yeah, let's
thanks
call it for
everyone
today.
for hanging out.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Michael says his septic tank is tonight, and he's actually got topics tonight. That's cool. Cool. So yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. We appreciate you. We love you all. And may the force be with you.
Always.